Very comfortable there. Fine, all of you. I agree. I would like to invite the panelists for today. Please, I call upon stage Mugdha, Kulkarni, Purnima and Manjula Kandula. As they walk in, I'll tell you, Manjula has started her career in the newspaper industry, has 14 years of experience in the IT industry in various verticals. Currently, she's freelancing and in training. Okay, if you have any training needs, you can contact her. Okay, Purnima started her career with Infosys in 1996, and she was a writer, and then a few years she dabbled with management. I don't know whether she liked it or not. She's gone back to being an individual contributor. Okay, she's working for Ariba, and she also has worked in various verticals. Now, Mugdha has a very interesting career path. Okay, she has been writing for the Marcom industry and other things for 15 years. Before she accidentally, quotes, no, intentionally, accidentally. So there are too much of accidents happening. So accidentally she stepped into the technical writing industry and has not looked back. Good. And she is currently with TIPCO, okay? And she is also the, if people don't know about it, she is also the Pune rather, Chennai city representative, Pune, okay. Now, before I go into their takeaway for this particular topic, I'm going to just play a small video clip and see how a particular IT giant, okay, took care of this, their marketing details with this particular video. Before that, we have a small, so I'm not going to take too much of time. Each panelists will have 4 minutes to talk about their viewpoint. Then we'll have an open discussion with them. And you have what I call the fluid timeline with the audience. You can ask questions. Maybe if we have time, then we will ask a few more. And I have given some cue cards with a Mac. And as he passes on the mic, please, I may not remember all your questions. I don't have that much of a primary memory. So what I would like you to do is just write down your question after you ask that and hand it back to Makran. Okay? I'll put it into the slide deck and then post it back onto the. And we also will have a little bit of a conclusion at the end. And we're not going to decide whether it is going to be a plain overhead or an agent, but then we'll also see how to do it. How many of you have heard about the Dabbawala? Mumbai? Yes, you've all heard. Correct. And you notice the underlying thing I have looked at. Look at the customer satisfaction. They have a whopping error rate of non-error rate of just 1 in 16 million transactions. Amazing. Okay, and that is the reason why. Just look at maybe at the end of the video. This is just a 3-minute or a 4-minute video, and you will see that what I'm talking about.
If you visit Mumbai, you are bound to notice the Dabbawalas. You may not realize this, but the Dabbawalas are a very important part of life in Mumbai. They are the ones who make sure that nearly 200,000 people get their lunch in time at their offices or schools every day from home.
Their operations are so efficient that world personalities like Prince Charles and Richard Branson have visited them. They have been invited for lectures at business schools. They are even said to be Six Sigma compliant.
Now, what is a dabba? A dabba is simply a tiffin box carrying home-cooked food, which is to be delivered from the home to a person in an office or a school. And the dabbawala is a person who picks up the food from the home and ensures that it is delivered to the right office to the right person on time.
नमस्कार, मेरा नाम रघुनाथ धोंडेवा मेदगे हूँ। मैं डब्बावाला एसोसिएशन का प्रेसिडेंट हूँ। हमारी डब्बा का सर्विस 18 से 90 से शुरू है। हमारी टोटल 5000 मेंबर्स मुंबई में कार्यरत है।
It all may sound fairly simple, but imagine doing this in one of the most densely populated cities in the world. The Dabbawalas have high rates of accuracy and their error rates are shockingly 1 in a million only. And what is even more impressive, that all the Dabbawalas are fairly illiterate and have no use of any technology. The only motorized transport used is the Mumbai local trains. Other than that, they make use of hand-drawn carts and bicycles.
मेरी ग्रुप की साइकिल है, अंधेरी स्टेशन में छोड़ के जाता हूँ, तो मैं दूसरे ग्रुप की साइकिल डिलीवरी पॉइंट पे यूज करता हूँ और मेरी साइकिल वो लोग यूज करते हैं।
The dabbas or the lunch boxes have a color coding scheme which makes sure that they get to the right destination.
The structure of this organization is fairly flat. It has just 3 levels. First, the governing body. Second, the team leads or the supervisors. And third, the dabbawalas. And everyone is an equal shareholder in this organization. There are no bosses and the earnings are equally divided.
हर एक बंदा का काम टीम के लिए करना है. अगर एक बंदा कम काम करेगा तो पूरी टीम की इनकम सोर्स लो हो जाती है.
All the dabbawalas come from the same Warkari sect, and whenever any replacement is required, villages that have this Warkari sect are approached for suitable candidates. To join this organization as a dabbawala, the dabbawalas have to bring a few things: a long wooden crate, 2 bicycles, and ₹20 for a Gandhi cap that they wear. And how much do you think would it cost to avail of this very efficient dabba service? Less than $10 a month. While the operations are fairly simple, the dabbawalas are now beginning to work with newer technologies. You can SMS them or you can also log on to their site mydabbawala.com to avail of their services.
अभी लंदन में भी प्रिंस चार्ल्स की शादी में जाकर आया हूँ. इटली में 2 बार जाने का मौका हमें मिला है. और मैगजीन ने भी हमारी रिसर्च की थी, बीबीसी ने भी डॉक्यूमेंट्री वहाँ बना के दी थी. हमारे ऊपर देखते हैं कि इनको क्यों ना 6 सिग्मा देना चाहिए. हमें तो पता ही नहीं 6 सिग्मा क्या है.
And given their reach in Mumbai, Microsoft has also partnered with the dabbawalas. The dabbawalas distributed leaflets and wore Microsoft branded clothes to spread awareness of genuine Windows softwares to their customers.
5,000 बम्बई के डब्बे वाले 4 लाख टिफिन का ट्रांजैक्शन पर डे लोकल ट्रेन से, साइकिल से और मैन पावर की वजह से कर रहे हैं.
I'm Premjit Singh, showing you Mumbai.
Okay, that's very interesting. So I will keep this on the slide and you can start. We'll start with Mugdha. I'll want to listen to her viewpoints of this particular panel discussion. Thank you, Mugdha.
Thanks, Kiranmayee, for giving me this opportunity. It's been a long time, at least more than a decade, that I have talked from the Marcom perspective, really. But then Marcom has never really left me, so I think it's okay. I do deserve to be here. I'm just justifying it for myself. So essentially what I'm saying is that, my points are that thanks for actually showing us the Dabbawalas clip, because it changes the perspective that we have of our profession. It has an humbling effect on us. Why? Because they are not working for Six Sigma. That's not their objective. They didn't want to come up with a process, really. What was their focus? Their focus was to help the housewife to cook food and deliver it to her husband or her relatives or her kids. They are doing that. It's as simple as that. It's nothing fancy. The fanciness comes when you start using words like process, or you start using words like, continuous improvement and stuff like that. Once you start getting into all that, the basics go away from your head. And I think that's essentially the problem with our profession. We started in a profession where processes were more important than people. Processes became more important than the objectives. And that's where Marcom still has an upper hand on tech writing when it comes to responsive communication. They do the audience analysis more effectively than we do. I have always missed that part in my work. I don't get to spend time on audience analysis and say to my manager that, I did it and it took me, say, 2 days, 3 days. You don't do it that way. You can't allocate hours for such a thing which is not going to come up with you're not going to deliver anything with that. Now comes the process. You attach a deliverable, that is the audience profiles, and suddenly you can do it. So that's actually our problem. If it's in the process, we do it. If it's not in the process, we don't do it. So that's something that, people do claim that, I do it on my own, but then when you do it for the company, you are compelled to do it by the company, you do it differently. When you want to do it, you do it differently. And when you succumb to the pressures of work, you do it differently. So it's all in us, I think. So Marcom writers are not paid as much as we are paid probably, but then there are some skills that we need to learn from them. What exactly are those skills? I think being responsive, being communicative, being social. And that's what I think the overall tone of this conference has been, right? That we are going to go social and we are going to be extremely transient. All that comes naturally to Marcom writers because they have to essentially keep communicating to the users, to their customers. We were called technical writers before. Now many companies are changing the names of the departments to technical communication group than technical publications group, or they are changing titles from information developer and technical writer to technical communicators. So that's a good change, and we should understand why that change is coming and why, from where it is coming. So if we understand that, I think technical writers will also do a great job there. So essentially my points are audience analysis, which is not a different thing for us. We know about it. Theory is different. In practical, it's going to be different. So I think it's just a change for all of us. And yes, the second point for me is the objectives. With what objectives are you working? With what objectives are you writing? Do you want to write because you need to write about that feature? Is it a legal commitment? Or is it really that you want to help the users? So the objective behind it, that also matters a lot.
Thank you.
Get my answer. I think on one level, maybe the engineers, one, they're not articulate. Two, they think that we're too dumb to understand the technology, so they don't give us all the information. So it was easier for me to go to communities, look at the debates that have happened. I get to see a lot more views. I'm not just listening to one person telling me the information. So I get to see what A has to say, what B has to say, and then they argue between themselves, and then they finally come up with a solution. So my work is all done. I don't have to ask any questions. I don't have to interview an SME. I get all the information. I get all my points. In fact, some of it is pretty neatly structured. So all I have to do is, just a copy paste also sometimes. I mean, use your editing skills. Definitely a use. It is definitely an agent for change. I think it's a, without question, definitely an essential agent for change. It is changing the face of documentation going forward. We have become a community where, you cannot ignore social media. Everything is out there. It's all out on the internet. So we need to be able to embrace customer giving us feedback, customer giving us information. When it comes to plain overhead, yes, it is an overhead to a large extent. I think, again, like she said, you need to know how you want to use your resources at the end of the day. Because this is a social media platform, everybody has access to it, all of your customers have access to it, it needs to be monitored more closely. So you will need, you'll need 24/7 monitoring basically. So you will have a team sitting in India who's going to be monitoring it for 8 hours. Then you have a team in the east of USA who's going to be monitoring it for the next 8 hours, and then on the west coast who's going to be monitoring it for the last 8 hours. So this is definitely an overhead, because all of these people are, instead of doing user documentation, technical notes, knowledge base articles, they are going to be sitting and monitoring what a person has written, what A has written, one-liner about something, and then B comes back and says and has personal comments to pass on the person who has first commented. So all you're doing is, you're being a mother, mother of one child is a mother. When you're a mother of 2 children, you're a referee. So this is what you're doing on on these community portals. But I think it comes with the it comes with the game. You have no choice. So learn to be good moderators, learn to be polite moderators, and like I said, leave your ego out of it, and see how best you can leverage. This is another tool for us to enhance our documentation. So we need to see how best we can leverage this particular medium. I would call it another medium of information. So use this to our advantage and try and see that it's not just an overhead, but it is definitely an essential agent for change.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Manjula. Thank you.
My predecessor has spoken so much that I'm wondering what I have to talk about. But I've been asked to talk about, from the manager's perspective. That's what Kiran has told me to do. But I would just like to talk from a little bit from the writer's perspective, because years ago, when I was in HP, I was a moderator for some of HP's forums. And I can tell you, like Purnima said, that it was round the clock monitoring. And of course, we didn't have to stay, but there was always somebody from the East Coast and the US who were moderating. But the most interesting take-home that we got from moderating these forums was that the users would themselves answer questions, and so they had a very good know-how. They could troubleshoot very well. And the best part was our company was able to also give incentives to people who answered the most number of questions. For instance, if we were moderating, let's say, printers forum, somebody would get a free printer or a freebie, and then they would also have things like King and Pharaoh, and so people who answered the most would get the Pharaoh status and stuff like that. And as moderators, very rightly as you've put, is that we had to ensure that there were no name calling. And if you turn away, by the time you turn back, you would see 4 more mails that come up. And there were times when people were irritated with each other, and there were very strict rules in the forum that we had to moderate. So that was our job. So we were not answering questions, but we were actually allowing others to answer. The second experience that I had was when I was a manager at Sun Microsystems. And I think Sun Microsystems were icons for social media. And we had for App Server, for instance, Glassfish, which was a very good web, user interactive, I wouldn't say forum, but there were a lot more in that particular website. And we had to, and there were people who would comment on writers and say that perhaps this can be added and this needs to be, modified. So no egos there, but it's a given that you have to work. But let me just say one more thing, in that you're saying that resources are actually taken away from writing, but I would like to say that I think the boundaries are really merging. You can't really say that, technical writing is just about, writing user documentation. So we have to accept it. And for that, I think the philosophy of the companies have to change quite a bit. So I think the mindset of the managers, the philosophy of the company, and also the way in which we look at our own interaction. Because the final word that I would really like to say is, look at it from a point of view of a parent and a child. Now, if you're going to tell your child to just do something and not give the child a say, would the child like it? So if you're looking at it from a user point of view, if you're going to write down to the user, or talk down to the user and say that this is supposed to be it, would the user like it? So, and essentially what's happening is the boundaries are merging and we are actually talking with the users, and so we have to give them a chance to have their say, right? So, you can say that they're over, I'm sorry, I really don't call it an overhead, because I tend to believe that, that long-term gains are much more than the short-term pains. Thank you.
Okay, the manager doesn't think it's an overhead.
No, that's great.
Yeah, the manager also should probably not consider it as an overhead, is also because the deliverables, the core deliverables should change with time. It may seem like an overhead initially because you are considering it as something extra from what you are doing. You are not considering it as a core deliverable of your work. And just yesterday we were talking in Sheesa's session, I think, we were saying that our roles and responsibilities are going to change. Of course they are going to change, and of course content curation is going to become it's going to become one of the central skills that we acquire or display. So of course, I mean, I don't really agree with the point that it will become an overhead, though initially it might be perceived that way, that's for sure.
It is definitely going to be perceived as you're sitting and working on social media sites and not doing documentation. So that much I can tell you. You're not working on Frame, you're not working on, all of our tools that we use. So, especially in companies where we clock in hours and how many hours we have spent on what, it's going to definitely look like you're sitting on social media and not doing it.
And enjoying life. Okay. Thank you. I'll just come back to you people. So what I have to say is content marketing, from where this community-driven content we are talking about has come up, has been there for a decade for now. Okay, the hype has been created recently. It's not that it is not there at all. It has been there, and we have driven content through our communities, whatever it could be. Okay, but the problem is understanding it. How do I drive it? Do I need plain marketing styles which were there existing, or do I need to change the marketing styles? And that's the reason why content marketing is coming up so well. And we also should know that it is an analog of the product marketing days. When product marketing was taken to the customer, okay, site, and then they used to do that. Now we don't have to do it because of the social media. Basically, content marketing has become so famous, as they said, because of social media. And you'll notice that there are a few slides where I'm talking about statistics. I've just put down a few. I'll give you some links. When you have some time, you can go through them. Okay. I also will show you this is too much of information for you. So we have something like social computing which is happening. We have tools. We have also the social media and how it is being placed, the content is placed. So we are driving it. And this is how the usage is now. If you notice this graph, and you will notice that social media is 87%, which is amazing how we are using it. And all of us are doing it. In fact, I have a very antique phone, Nokia phone. My children, both are very grown up. Okay, one is working and one is in school, final year, 12th. And they said, Ma, you're still in some dinosaur age, you know. You'll have to come. You're talking about technology. You go and present in conferences. You still have an antique phone. I don't know. You don't realize that maybe it'll go on under Christie's hammer, and I'll get a whopping sum for it, you know. But they say they're not convinced. They say I have to go back home to Chennai, and I'm probably going to be scouting for a phone soon, and I'm going to do it. I have to do it. That is the pressure. I'm not having peer pressure. I'm having children pressure now. Okay, so this is a continuous learning which we have kept for you. Okay, and these are all these links. You can't see it on this because the background is very bad. I'm just going to give it to you, and you'll notice that if you have followed Dr. Dave, okay, excellent articles on content marketing and marketing articles, you have to read him. He's excellent. It's just absolutely amazing how he calculates and analyzes the data which is presented across verticals and across various product. Okay, you need to look at this, and you'll notice that content marketing he has predicted for 2013 and 14. Okay, so I have some questions for the panel. Now, how do I make it an organization side initiative? Anybody can take this question. Okay, how can I make this as an organization side initiative such that it doesn't become a plain overhead, but it is going to be a change management tool?
That's a good question, Kiran, and I think that's something that as writing groups we have to think of really seriously. So I don't have an answer, but I would just like to start this off. But before that, I just want to say that you're talking about writers getting into social media. There was this writer in Sun Microsystems, Kirtan, I think Nilesh remembers. He was I think the most avid blogger. And his words that in his blogs were taken from even the developers. So that's the scale you can reach. So why I'm saying this is perhaps if you have these kind of stars that come out from your groups and from within you churn out this kind of expertise, you can probably influence the higher ups to have this and then later on start developing analytics of your own where you can say the number of blogs and the number of blog hits, the rate and review, the comments, the tag clouds, all these things that come up you will be able to present to the management about the use of social media.
You say the management buy-in is very important.
Yeah.
Okay. How many of you agree that for anything to happen, the change to happen, we need to have a management buy-in?
It is important because they are the ones who finally pay our salary. So and we have to, I mean, like I said, you know, love it or hate it, you have no way that you can avoid it. So you need to make them understand. And I think they also use the same kind of technology that we do. In fact, I think they're more technologically advanced than we are. So I don't think that they will have a problem with accepting it. They may have problems with how we are going to implement it.
True.
And how it can be cost effective. One other thing that I wanted to mention was about SLAs. I think a lot of companies I've seen who have SLA driven, you know, so you have very strict SLAs, as in as soon as a post is posted, you need to comment on it or moderate it. Something has to happen
Time
within
bound.
it's time bound.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of rules that govern it. It's not something that we're talking off our hat. I'm sure there are a lot of studies that have been done. So we need to figure out what would be the most advantageous thing that we can, what are the principles that we can implement for our organization. Every organization is different. So you need to do some basic study as to how it is going to apply to you and then take it to your management. So if you have your facts in front of you, nobody can refute it. So there's no way that you can, you know, they're going to come back and say no.
Correct.
So do your homework and present it to them. I'm sure they will be able to accept it.
Okay.
I want to share something that I was discussing with a presenter today itself. He said he wanted to create videos and the company was not really ready for that because of the you know, overhead. The same reason that they gave. But then what he did was he created some videos and posted them on his own personal YouTube channel. A lot of escalations happened. And after those escalations, it reached the VPs and, you know, big shots in the company, and he started getting calls from USA, what exactly are you doing? And finally he said, after all the visibility he must have got, he just said that, yeah, probably I had to do it because you were not doing it. And I am actually thinking about the betterment of my product. I'm actually thinking about user assistance. So am I going to be punished for good intentions? And that's where finally the VP gave in, and he actually initiated it formally, and it all started flowing really well. The ball started rolling from there. So that's actually one of the ways to convince management, unconventional ways to convince management probably. Not everyone can deal with it, so be careful. Yes. Another point that I wanted to make is management matters a little later is what I personally think. It's up to you guys, you know, it's up to us. If we create content, I mean, we like to measure everything in IT industry, don't we? I mean, we will immediately start thinking about, okay, how do I consider the effectivity of this particular initiative, or how do I consider the productivity of this initiative? Can we sustain this initiative, and all such things. But then before that, I feel that we also should think whether we are sticking to our original objective of helping users. If the writers are doing that, then whatever studies the management carries out or whatever measures they take, they are sure to, you are sure to come up with flying colors. So I still feel that, you know, the central objective of your work has to be user assistance. If it is user assistance and user experience, then nothing can go wrong in whatever matrix they try to fit you in, you won't fail there.
You can also do a pilot.
Yeah.
So pick up a product, do a pilot run, launch it on launch a community for it, see how it goes, how many questions you get. So that gives you all your facts, take it to your management.
Yeah. Okay. We have a few more minutes. So what we will do is, I'm just going to show you one small video of how actually you can drive content marketing by just a small. How many of us know that it took so many years for inventing some small thing like World Wide Web or a web concept? It took a lot of years. Okay. But how did that come out? I'm going to just show you one small thing. And the reason is we have to remember that many of those customers who are hitting the website, if you're going to look at content marketing that way, they have to visit us again. And if you have to do that, the base or the foundation is quality content. And we as players are very important in that cycle. Okay?
Kiran, can I just make one more point
Please,
while
go
you're
ahead.
showing it?
No, it's okay.
One of the things that came to my mind when you were talking was, look at no change is going to be easy. Okay, it's as simple as that. There is going to be provocation, there is going to be retaliation, but ultimately, if anybody has done the change management course, you'll know that, there will be outliers and there will be people who will come in. But look at it from the press point of view, from the news point of view. If you somebody starts something like Citizen Journalist, where anybody can go and report something on air, can you imagine the change in the mindset of the news people? Because news, having been part of the press, I know that we are very, possessive about our journalistic abilities, and you're giving your mic to somebody else. Think of it.
Okay. Thank you. I'm just going to do this. We need a sound.
For the past 5 years, I've been investigating this question of where good ideas come from. It's the kind of problem I think all of us are intrinsically interested in. We want to be more creative. We want to come up with better ideas. We want our organizations to be more innovative. I've looked at this problem from an environmental perspective. What are the spaces that have historically led to unusual rates of creativity and innovation? And what I've found in all of these systems, there are these recurring patterns that you see again and again that are crucial to creating environments that are unusually innovative. One pattern I call the slow hunch, that breakthrough ideas almost never come in a moment of great insight, in a sudden stroke of inspiration. Most important ideas take a long time to evolve, and they spend a long time dormant in the background. It isn't until the idea has had 2 or 3 years, sometimes 10 or 20 years to mature, that it suddenly becomes accessible to you and useful to you in a certain way. And this is partially because good ideas normally come from the collision between smaller hunches, so that they form something bigger than themselves. So you see a lot in the history of innovation, cases of someone who has half of an idea. There's a great story about the invention of the World Wide Web and Tim Berners-Lee. This is a project that Berners-Lee worked on for 10 years. But when he started, he didn't have a full vision for this new medium he was going to invent. He started working on one project as a side project to help him organize his own data. He scrapped that after a couple years, and he started working on another thing. And only after about 10 years did the full vision of the World Wide Web come into being. That is, more often than not, how ideas happen. They need time to incubate, and they spend a lot of time in this partial hunch form. The other thing that's important when you think about ideas this way is that when ideas take form in this hunch state, they need to collide with other hunches. Oftentimes, the thing that turns a hunch into a real breakthrough is another hunch that's lurking in somebody else's mind. And you have to figure out a way to create systems that allow those hunches to come together and turn into something bigger than the sum of their parts. That's why, for instance, the coffee house in the Age of the Enlightenment, or the Parisian salons of modernism, were such engines of creativity, because they created a space where ideas could mingle and swap and create new forms. When you look at the problem of innovation from this perspective, it sheds a lot of important light on the debate we've been having recently about what the internet is doing to our brains. Are we getting overwhelmed with an always connected, multitasking lifestyle? And is that going to lead to less sophisticated thoughts as we move away from the slower, deeper, contemplative state of reading, for instance? Obviously, I'm a big fan of reading. But I think it's important to remember that the great driver of scientific innovation and technological innovation has been the historic increase in connectivity and our ability to reach out and exchange ideas with other people and to borrow other people's hunches and combine them with our hunches and turn them into something new. That really has, I think, been, more than anything else, the primary engine of creativity and innovation over the last 600 or 700 years. And so yes, it's true we're more distracted. But what has happened that is really miraculous and marvelous over the last 15 years is that we have so many new ways to connect and so many new ways to reach out and find other people who have that missing piece that will complete the idea we're working on, or to stumble serendipitously across some amazing new piece of information that we can use to build and improve our own ideas. That's the real lesson of where good ideas come from, that chance favors the connected mind.
You have to read this book. It's very interesting if you have the time. Stephen Johnson. Okay, I have time at least, Matt, for 2 questions or 3 questions. Good. The audience, the audience can ask the panelists some questions if you have any.
My question is that if some content comes on the website, who owns the content, and if we reuse that content, what are the legal implications of that?
Do you want someone specific to answer that question, Shailaja? Okay.
From what I understand, once it is posted on your website, it is your content. You are responsible for ensuring that it does not harm anybody else's sentiments, yes. But I don't think there are any copyright issues. That's what I have understood.
There are plagiarism checking engines.
Correct.
And if they catch you, you will be in trouble.
No, but these are thoughts that are being posted on your website, right? Somebody has posted a comment on your website. You cannot go and obviously do a search and copy paste it into yours. That definitely is not. But when people come and comment on in your blog or on your communities forum, that information becomes yours. So just now Madhur Bhandarkar, right? He was talking about Mayur Bhandarkar. Sorry, yes. He was talking about.
I was wondering.
Yeah, we really creative.
Calling movie makers to the conference.
This is creativity at its worst. So, yeah, so he was talking about how information that is posted, any comments that is posted becomes the property of the company, the person who owns that content.
Yeah, you still have copyright and plagiarism, and if you're having products, especially if you're going to need to market it, and if you have not signed any NDA and things like that way, non-disclosure agreements, and you have some SLA metrics which they'll be collecting, then yes, this definitely is there. We have it, but we should be very cautious when we put something on the social media also for at least the product services or the B2B services, what we were talking about.
Just one point to add to what you said. I think in Sun Microsystems, blogs had to probably be checked by a manager or some in order to actually post it out there. If it's a product blog. No, but there is certain amount of,
Maybe for correctness, yes. But I don't
even for the user comments, you can't really use the comments without checking in on plagiarism, because sometimes users tend to copy it from somewhere and put it on the website as a comment. So you do need to check that, but then whatever has come from the users and you are sure about that being the personal opinion or suggestion from that user, you can definitely use it. Rather, that's the job of content curators.
So the key factors, I had put up a slide. You have a framework of trust. So that is something which is very important. Okay. So you have diversity, you have the creative diversity, but you also have to take care of all the other aspects. So if you are as confused as this person, you can please go through all the links which I had given. It will be useful. Yeah, she has a question.
Yeah, I think that we are going into a gray area as far as plagiarism is concerned, because content curation, and just because there is this sheer amount of information and content that is present and already available on the web and content curation, and there are many sites, for example Upworthy and Stumble Upon and all these, they are taking the content, giving you the content, but there is proper acknowledgement of wherever they have got it from. So content curation, but now what's happening is that if there is some content that a video that you're seeing on Stumble Upon or on Upworthy, it is that we say it's a video from Upworthy. We don't actually go to the source of that video and say it's from there. So I don't know whether it is we have to really reinvent the wheel and do content of our own when it's available out there and we can just curate it.
That's so true, but then the way you said, we are all dabbawalas. We don't have an identity of our own. We don't need to have an identity of our own, right? Because whatever content we are creating, we are working towards a goal, and achieving that goal is the only objective. That's all. So yeah, what you say is so true.
Again, going back to Mayur Bhandarkar's presentation, he did a search of a TIBCO specific journal on Google. So we have become so lazy that even though I know there is a TIBCO specific guide that I'm looking for, I will not go to www.tibco.com and search. I would rather search it on Google. So I think it's just where we are headed. We are just becoming lazier, I think, by the day. I don't know. I mean, I'm quite at a loss because I would assume that it is easier to go to tibco.com. At least you're minimizing your search to only TIBCO, right? So I really don't understand the logic behind the person who's doing a search like that. So.
There is a logic behind that, just the way Makarand said in his session earlier. It's not probably being lazy, it's just being less tolerant. Why? Because it's probably the person who's searching for that information is also hoping that probably some user has done something on the same topic that he is looking for, so that information may be on TIBCO or maybe on Google, and by default the Google page is always open, so it's easy to search there, that's all.
Okay.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
I mean, a comment on the topic. I think it's an entirely new job that is getting created as a content writer, and I really wonder how many tech writers will get that job. I think it's a new industry. A lot of people in advertising are entering content marketing. A lot of people in PR are entering content marketing. And this could be, and take it with a pinch of salt, but I think a lot of people are capable of writing technical manuals but not articles. They are not able to do creative writing. They are only able to do technical writing, right? And because of that, I really wonder how many technical writers can actually become content writers. I think it's going to create millions of jobs, but may not be for technical writers.
The more the merrier.
Okay.
But may not be for technical writers.
Okay, thank you. I have to, okay, who has, no, I don't think we have time. We have to, yeah. Thank you, Manjula, Purnima and Mugdha. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Kiranmayee. And